Hello, Chairman McDonald and Council. How are you today?
Good, Julie. How are you?
I'm well. You guys had a full agenda. It looked very interesting.
Oh,
So,
that irrigation
yeah,
information was
yeah,
really good.
yeah. So I guess I need to get in on that Zoom for Kicking Horse. I missed the one here in Arlee, but I'm very interested in getting better informed. I have to admit I haven't read all the water compact. But I am here today to ask permission from you. So, attached to my agenda request is a chapter in a book that is being published by Fulcrum Publishing. They're a great publishing institution, and in particular, because they are committed to publishing work by Native scholars. They have published Vine Deloria, they've published Walter Echo Hawk, I think Steve Slocum, and some leading Native scholars. So I have a book contract with them, and I have a deadline, which is March 30th. And so in the chapter that Donald Grindy wrote, where he goes through kind of a history of federal Indian policy and then how that impacted the civil rights of American Indians, both individually and as tribes, I am I am making it a little more specific in how that impacted people so that it's a little more interesting to read. We've all read federal Indian policy summaries, all of us at some point in our careers or our work. And so I have created 8 sidebars that will go in that chapter. The first sidebar is on allotment when he talks about, that's on page 4, when he talks about the disastrous policy of allotment. And so the sidebar will look at national statistics, 138 million acres of tribal lands that was reduced to 48 million acres after allotment policy. And so what I would like to do is include at least 3 of our land status maps because they're so powerful in telling a story visually and because they tell a unique story that I'm so proud of with our tribe is that we have recovered. I think we're the only tribe to have recovered such a significant amount of land lost to allotment and homesteading. So I just met with the senior editors last week, and they're very keen on this book. And so I'm trying to finalize all of my permissions and citations. I have about a month, so I'm kind of full speed to get everything done. So I'd like your permission to do that. And I would write, 1 or 2 sentences, and I could certainly submit that to lands or for approval. And, I would want our current land statistics. I know that that's fluctuating, hopefully going up, right? So now we've added the bison range, correct? 18,000 more acres. So I would like the current land status, and I would be happy to work with lands and to write, a 2 sentence caption under those maps that would, be approved by lands, whoever you would like me to go through that approval process with. So that's what I'm asking you for today.
Any questions for Julie? I know we've displayed our land status maps numerous times in the historical context from the allotment period on. Typically, we put like a little bit of a disclaimer on them, Julie, like you're talking about that.
Right.
It's not absolutely accurate.
It's fluctuating, yeah.
That's correct. So I guess as long as you acknowledge I guess the maps are copyrighted or whatever, or by the tribes, I don't think there's any problem with it. I'm looking at everybody and I see our legal counsel in here. I don't know if he has any preference on it, but these maps have been displayed numerous times in different publications and items. So is there Jennifer?
I make a motion to allow Julie to use these maps in her work.
Motion by Jennifer to use the platted reservation land status maps, a series of 5s demonstrating the allotment act through time to present day. Second by Anita. Any further discussion? All those in favor, show of hands. I believe, Martin, are you voting?
I'm in favor.
Okay.
I'm in favor. Sorry, I'm just slow on my thumbs.
Okay, and Carol? Let's see if Carol's voting or not. Anyway, motion passed. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I just wanted to say, Julie, thank you so much for this amazing work that you do. And this history book is groundbreaking work that will be a huge service to the world. And you do so much work that brings honor to our community. So thank you, Julie.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it, and I'm excited. It's going, it won't be published until next year, but I'm so glad that my part is almost done. So I'm happy about it and happy to tell parts of our story whenever I can. So thank
Anita.
you.
Thank you, Julie. It's ironic, we were coming back from Helena and Jimmy and I had this same conversation about being down to 30% of our reservation at one time. I know that we've come back over 60% now, which is just great. But at some point, I'd like to see for ourselves just how much the tribes have spent buying back, you know, the amount of acres and how much it's cost us to regain that, because we've worked hard since 1934.
I need to tell you, I worked really hard on it. So it is an interesting story. And I don't know, Julie, if your assumption is correct that we've acquired the most back of any tribe that was diminished. But it could be.
Well, yeah, I've worked with the Indian Land Tenure Foundation, and it was a while ago that I worked with them, but at the time that I worked with them on a Montana Indian Land Tenure project, that's what they said. So, but I might keep in touch with them because they're tracking. But I did want to tell Anita that we have that data. So I worked with Virgil Dupuy on a project that the Indian Land Tenure funded, and we actually created a multimedia history of our land tenure from Aboriginal well, Virgil was doing it and he was starting with the treaty, and I said we need to start before because we're decolonizing our story. We don't want to always start with when they took our land away. We want to start with what we had. So Virgil did an amazing amount of work and hired someone who went through every tribal council resolution related to a land purchase. And all of that data is in that project. And so we created a graph by decade, and we have the data with the dollars, Anita. But when we were putting that together in this project, lands and council asked us to take the money, the dollar figure out, because they didn't want that to influence future land purchases, you know, and so that was something that they thought should be knowledge kept within the tribe. But one thing we did discover is that the largest land purchase happened in the 50s, and I'm not certain why, but I would be happy to visit with Virgil, or you could visit with Virgil Dupuy, and he could get that data to you. And one of the wonderful things that happens when people do these projects, that data was not collected anywhere. It was not recorded in any kind of organized way to where, you know, someone on council or somebody working could go and say, you know, can I see the data for the 60s or whatever, you know, or get it cumulatively. So it was, I think, fortuitous that that project happened, and then that data ended up being organized and collected. So
Well, and when I worked with tribal lands, we used to turn in a report every year that we worked with Bill Biarco and
Right.
Sue. But I kind of started to work on that project, and I know that Virgil had the will on it, but I never did hear after how it turned out. I would have liked to have seen that report, you know.
you know what happened, Anita, is we created an educational resource and we used a program, unfortunately, that by the time by the time we got it done, it was the same thing that happened with Fire on the Land and Explore the River. That platform is outdated. And so that project is sitting in limbo and needs to be translated into HTML because it's never been released. And it's a very good land tenure history. And we did Salish and Kootenai place name maps, worked with both culture committees on that, and Aboriginal territory discussions, and sponsored committees. So maybe at some point I can work with the education department so that it's just sitting on a disk in my office so that we can actually get it available. But Anita, I could certainly ask Virgil to give that information to you folks. I'm sorry, we probably should have done something. You know how you work on a project and then you get done and then you go on to something else, and we should have done some kind of reporting out on that.
Well, appreciate your work, Julie.
Okay.
Fantastic work, and carry forward. We have an expectation of a lot more projects coming from you.
I hope
the
so.
road.
I hope
And-
so. I still want to keep going. I got to keep
And,
my.
you know, that's probably what I am. Anyway,
I don't think you're obsolete yet, any of you.
oh, well, Peggy, you're too kind. You're too
Okay,
kind.
thank you so
Julie.
much.
You
Okay,
bet.
bye-bye.
I believe our last agenda item will move into executive session. Probably for a quick discussion. So with that, move into executive session.